finishing chapter 17 today uh, with the section entitled The Conditions of Peace. And the image here may be familiar or not to some of you. Do any of you recognize the room that this image is patterned after? This is the famous Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles. And this hall, when I walked in it, first of all, it's very big and very full of light. Is really spectacular, as many rooms are in the Palace of Versailles. In the Hall of Mirrors, this is an image of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919 at the Palace of Versailles, which was the treaty that was the agreement to end World War I. So it's rather famous. It kind of set into motion a lot of the arrangements that lasted for the last 100 years. So the conditions of peace, this is where all these nations got together and worked out a peace treaty. So with that, I just wanted to say welcome to High Plains. We begin by centering our intentions on a shared spiritual focus. And we encourage each of you to take a moment before joining our meeting to consciously align your thoughts with the Holy Spirit's plan. And we're grateful for the holy influence that unites us in a greater purpose. The path we embark upon is one of transformation, calling upon our faith and guiding us towards peace. My name is Jonaca, your teaching assistant. We're delighted to have David W. as our reader today. Thank you for being here and for your commitment to spiritual growth. We're going to review one or two paragraphs from the previous section. And you can either view that on the screen. These are fragments of sections. David, is easy for you to read, or?
Yes, I can read.
Uh-huh.
But remember this: the goal of holiness was set for your relationship and not by you. You did not set it, because holiness cannot be seen except through faith. And your relationship was not holy because your faith in your brother was so limited and little. Your faith must grow to meet the goal that has been set. The goal's reality will call this forth, for you will see that peace and faith will not come separately. The power set in you, in whom the Holy Spirit's goal has been established, is so far beyond your little conception of the infinite that you have no idea how great the strength that goes with you. And you can use this in perfect safety.
Mm-hmm. So whose goal is it? It's the Holy Spirit's goal. It's been set for you. It's a given by the Holy Spirit for everyone. It doesn't require your detailed understanding. it does require your willingness to agree and accept Holy Spirit's guidance. And once we agree to join with her, it sets into motion a series of phenomena that involve trust and power and faith. And it's a power that comes from the Holy Spirit's plan, is a plan to call the entire sonship back home to a state of oneness with the Creator, which is the original state. That plan has power, and it's beyond our understanding, but it has the power to transform. So when we read about power and plans, we know that we're talking about the source of that comes from the Holy Spirit. And with that, we'll begin reading in 17.8.
The conditions of peace. The holy instant is nothing more than a special case or an extreme example of what every situation is meant to be. The meaning that the Holy Spirit's purpose has given it is also given to every situation. It calls forth just the same suspension of faithlessness, withheld and left unused, that faith might answer to the call of truth. The holy instant is the shining example, the clear and unequivocal demonstration of the meaning of every relationship and every situation seen as a whole. Faith has accepted every aspect of the situation, and faithlessness has not forced any exclusion on it. It is a situation of perfect peace, simply because you have let it be what it is.
So from the Holy Spirit's perspective, every situation you might enter is this example as an opportunity for the Holy Spirit's purpose to be enacted. It's a potential that you might have a holy instant, a holy encounter in any and every situation. Your participation is up to you, but the Holy Spirit is ready, and there are both things you can do to welcome that experience and things you can do to interfere with that experience. To welcome it, suspend your faithlessness. Put it in a drawer is the way we used to say. It's not saying that we don't have any faithlessness that never occurs to us, but when that rises up, recognize it and momentarily put it aside and remain faithful and trusting. Both faith and trust work together here, trusting that every aspect of the situation is taken into account in the Holy Spirit's plan. Trust her to find the way, with the word we use in the Course is to find the means for bringing about the holy encounter in the situation. Not because you understand what's about to happen or you make it happen, but because you're ready for it to happen. You're open for it. Okay. By the way, we don't have a lot of volume this evening, so please, any questions you have, there's plenty of room for that. David?
This simple courtesy is all the Holy Spirit asks of you. Let truth be what it is. Do not intrude upon it. Do not attack it. Do not interrupt its coming. Let it encompass every situation and bring you peace. Not even faith is asked of you, for truth asks nothing. Let it enter, and it will call forth and secure for you the faith you need for peace. But rise you not against it, for against your opposition it cannot come.
So, where is truth? Where is it to be found? Well, from the Holy Spirit's point of view, it's everywhere and always. The Holy Spirit is the messenger, the voice for God. She's the messenger of truth. And her cosmic mind is everywhere. And so it would be impossible to be in a situation where truth was not present. So there's not a lot that you need to do. It's already there. It's just a matter of not intruding your faithlessness upon the situation. And that faithlessness can have multiple forms, your fears, your complaints, your judgments against many forms in which the faithlessness can take. All we need to do is not use the power of your mind to endorse those faithless ideas and be ready, willing, and able for whatever Holy Spirit has available in that moment. You may not know it happens until it's upon you. And so I want to underscore this. Not even faith is asked of you. All right, so we're really lowering the bar here. Not even faith is asked of you. Truth asks nothing of you. Just allow truth to be true. Let it enter. And when you do that, it has a power of its own that will call forth your faith, and that will lead to peace. So this makes your part very easy. Allow the truth to be true. Do not interfere with it. Remain faithful. But let me not contradict myself. Not even faith is asked of you. The truth will beckon your faith forward. It will call you from the source of truth, which is, in this case, the mind of the Holy Spirit. Sandra?
So the truth for me is that God is in everything I see. So whatever circumstances are in my life is God's plan for my salvation. And I just need to accept that there's nothing wrong here. There's nothing going wrong. Whatever the circumstances are in my life is God's plan for my salvation. It's a matter of me rising to it. I'm complete.
Yeah, that is so true, Sandra. It seems to me as a human experience, just getting to that level of acceptance of what Sandra said is a transcendent experience. And I say that because people often spend an entire lifetime fighting against the situation that they find themselves in and resisting and rejecting and closing their mind. And so this really requires that a profound willingness to accept reality as it's given. Susie?
I had this insight about an hour ago, and if it was only so easy, and I know exactly what Sandra's saying, and the course is helping me to think along those lines and to believe it and practice it. We are getting close to the end of our stay here, and you know, how we talk about the monkey or the giraffe or whatever who's in a cage, and they open the door and they don't go out because they're so comfortable. So they don't walk through out of their prison because they're just comfortable being there, right? So, I was thinking how, in a way, I don't really want to go back to Florida. But I was equating that with, it's kind of been okay here. It's been a little okay. I'm gonna have to do a whole lot to get back to Florida, and a lot of packing and unpacking and undoing and re-entry, and then I started thinking about the ego, and I started thinking about how we revert back because it's so familiar and it's just seems easier. And so if it's making a little difficulty in my mind just leaving after 3.5 months, I was thinking, wow, this is a tall task for us to undo all the thinking, the ego, and to just, but as Sandra was saying, I have faith that I cannot but be at the right place at the right time. And if it's time for us to go, then that's where my faith is. But do you know what I'm saying, Jonaca? Like the connection to just a small little moment, as opposed to the whole life of the ego.
Yeah, yeah. There's a phenomena that goes on in the background, and it runs for all of us, is the ego dislikes change
Right.
because it views it as a threat of its of its influence, its control. And so even here, you're 3.5 months in another state. It doesn't like the idea of changing back to your home state because it always greets those things as threatening to its established routine and its position in your mind. In contrast, let's look at that from the Holy Spirit's point of view. The Holy Spirit welcomes change. All change can be used for good. So notice this is a really good way of noticing when change, you're confronted with change, that anxiety, that angst or fear there. Know that that's the ego, and be willing to hand that over to the Holy Spirit and trust that change can bring about healing and progress when guided by the Holy Spirit. So it's a shift. It's a miracle to shift from fear of change to welcoming the change.
It's really interesting because I always talk about how coming here and going through all that, like that's exactly how we got through this, with the Holy Spirit, and knowing that the change was going to be healing, that all of this was going to be a chance for healing, which it was. Now it'll be reversed. I just wanted to bring that up because it was just so interesting to me. I could watch myself,
What I would humbly recommend is that you commit once again to the new experience ahead of you returning to Florida, just as you committed when you left for Ohio. All right, so thank you. We got a couple other hands. Atisha?
Yeah, I just also want to add, this is not related to really what I want to say, but my first time in this room, in this group, I was literally sobbing because I'd sold my house back a year ago. Didn't intend to come back to New York, but ended up back here. And I was without a home. And I was sobbing on my first session, my first class in here. And Jonaca said something about people losing their homes, but that not being the true home. And then I was just like, okay, I guess I should be here. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to say that. The line says here, this simple courtesy is all the Holy Spirit asks of you. Let truth be what it is. I come from some religious abuse. And so that word truth has been, it was an abused word when I was growing up. So I just want clarity, Jonaca. When it says truth, does that simply mean like what is happening in my life right now? That's my question.
I wouldn't use that as a working definition. No, because so here's a good special topic, by the way. Truth versus perception. In the context, actually, the entire Course of Miracles addresses this very issue, Atisha, and it says there's great confusion, huge confusion around this. Just briefly, we would say the thoughts that are going through our minds, our awareness, those things of which you are conscious of, whether you put words on it or not, are perceptions. They're interpretations of what is happening, but they're interpretations that go through your filters, so that we could all attend the same meeting and come out with different interpretations of what happened and what mattered and was important. So we're perceiving life, the world, but that is not truth, because that would mean there would be a billion truths. Truth with a capital T would be beyond our present understanding. It would be, so I'll use a couple terms to describe it: eternal truth that never changes, heaven sent truth, transcendent truth. It doesn't have to fit into the human mind. Truth emanates from the mind of God. And then there are translations of that, which are abbreviations. And if we're in the right frame of mind, we might receive those abbreviated versions of truth, which would be revelation. So, no, we are not experiencing truth, but we are being called in that direction by the Holy Spirit, who will provide a translation of heavenly truth into an earthly language that we can understand now. And that translation will be enough to call your soul forward towards the light. And if you continue upon that path towards the light, eventually you will reach a gateway, and on the other side of it is truth. So we are being beckoned towards truth, but not dealing with it right now. We're dealing with perceptions. It's a big shock, I think, these things, this point of view that the Course teaches, is that we don't know what truth is. And so it's very humbling, Atisha, and I think it actually lets us all off the hook. We do not know what truth is, but we are on a path in the pursuit of more light and more understanding so that we might at some point enter fully into truth. So that might have been a long wordy thing. I wrote that down. That we will come back to this topic when we do special topics over the next 2 weeks, because it's a topic all in itself. This was a very abbreviated form of what we talked about right here. Heather?
Yeah, I love that your question, Letitia. I was raised in a similar situation with truth being very distorted. And so it's so helpful to me to realize that all those things I was taught were just perceptions. And they're not truths necessarily. And the Holy Spirit is showing me what is true and weeding through all those old beliefs and ideas and letting go of a lot of them and having new ideas coming in. So it's just so liberating and freeing to realize that that was not truth that I was taught, even though that was put in those terms, and that there's only one truth, and you got to do it our way. And so once I could let that go, and like Jonathan said, that once I realized it was perception, it just was so freeing to be able to let those old, really hindering beliefs go. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Sandra?
Are there some truth principles, like the principle of unity and the principle of oneness and connection of all things? Are there some basic truths that everything is connected, that we are all one?
I like your question. Again, special topics. These are great materials for special topics. What comes to me in a shorthand version, Sandra, is imagine, it's somewhat like knowing a person. Can you really know someone after meeting them for 30 seconds? Not really. So how could you know a truth in 10 or 20 words? If the truth were from the infinite mind of the Creator. So having said that, there are snippets that are abbreviations and simplifications of truth that are what we as a human experience think to be the truth, when in reality it is just a fragment of truth. So we should take this up more on special topics. We're on a good one here. These are great questions. But for now, for continuity, we'll move on with this section here.
So could you say that truth is experienced in the moment?
Let's see. What do you mean by that?
That it's experienced in the moment, and it's experienced in the moment. Yeah, it has to be an experience. It can't be.
Okay. Yeah. So in Course in Miracles language, Sandra, in a holy instant in which all judgment is suspended and forgiveness is complete, in that instant, you are standing in the light of truth. In that instant. Doesn't mean that a whole bunch of words or statements about what's happening come to your mind, but you have an experience of clarity, of insight in a holy instant. So, and that is an experience of truth, yes. But it has the Course would say it has conditions. It does. So where we should not get confused about the idea of stating a passage or a principle and we're living the truth or experiencing the truth. That's the way it's often taught. If you read these words, these sacred words, that's the truth, and you're now part of it. That's the Orthodox way. What the Course would say is it's not about the form of the words you say, the language you use. It is about meeting the conditions of which judgment is suspended and forgiveness is complete. And in that moment, your soul, the windows of your soul are wide open and you experience the truth. All right, let's do this again on another occasion. David?
Would you not want to make a holy instant of every situation? For such is the gift of faith, freely given wherever faithlessness is laid aside, unused. And then the power of the Holy Spirit's purpose is free to use instead. This power instantly transforms all situations into one sure and continuous means for establishing His purpose and demonstrating its reality. What has been demonstrated has called for faith and has been given it. Now it becomes a fact from which faith can no longer be withheld. The strain of refusing faith to truth is enormous and far greater than you realize. But to answer truth with faith entails no strain at all.
You know, for those of you that attend regularly, you might have noticed the answer was in the next paragraph, which has happened before. And this responds to questions Elias and Sandra were speaking to. And now I can formulate it a little bit more clearly. The source of truth, you have to acknowledge what is the source of truth. The Holy Spirit is the messenger for God. Her mind encompasses the entire universe and all the creation. That's the source of truth. Our role in relationship to that source is one of faith, of the willingness and the being willing even without perfect certainty, the willingness to step forward in faith to be guided by that truth. So we have a relationship to truth, and there are moments we call holy instant where you step inside, you step inside the circle of truth. And in that moment, you're having a transcendent experience that goes beyond any belief that you have, that is beyond words, and that can really only be appreciated at the level of your soul. It's a soulful experience. So always remember, what is the source? The Holy Spirit is the source of truth, and and our part is to apply our faith towards that truth. So having said that, now let's look at what it just said here. The power of the Holy Spirit's purpose is free to use. The power instantly transforms all situations into a healing moment, a sure and continuous means for establishing His purpose and demonstrating its reality. In a moment, David S., I really hope you're listening in, because This speaks, I think, to the topic that we had read about in the previous section, which is that the power of the Holy Spirit demonstrates to you in your experience that this is a reality. The concept here is things that you've read and talked about are just talking and reading, but when you experience something, you have a firsthand encounter with that, so that you know what you've experienced. It's a demonstration of the reality of the Holy Spirit's plan. And what has been demonstrated calls for your faith. It beckons your faith forward. Once you've experienced it, your faith will rise to that a new level. Now, and here's the idea, the difference between faith in things unseen and faith in things seen. Now, what previously was unseen becomes a fact from which faith can no longer be withheld. It's been demonstrated. And to interfere with that causes great strain. The strain of refusing your faith is enormous and far greater than you realize. It would really, you're really resisting the impulses of your own soul, the strain of refusing faith. But to answer the truth with your faith is natural. It entails no strain at all. And so this is the demonstration of your faith. When you see it done, it's now a fact to you, not just a hope of things unseen. So I hope that was helpful. Kim?
So recently, I've been having several holy instant encounters. And the first thing that I'll share about this is that these happenings for me recently have been so impactful that all of the questions that we're talking about now are just answered during those moments. Like there are no questions walking away from the holy instant encounters. And what I have been aware of is my willingness to stay very present in situations, to stay judgment-free in situations, and to be able to rid myself of the need to try to understand anything that has happened before or that might happen now or that might happen after. And these things are happening so much and they're so profound that it is transformational for me right now. And all of these questions that are coming up are just answered during those moments. It is such a beautiful thing, and I'm so grateful about it.
Thank you, Kim. That was perfect timing. You're sharing that experience. Okay, so if you remain faithful in the moment, present in the moment to the Holy Spirit's plan, you have to be patient. It's not to say every instant you will be aware of it, but be patient with yourself. It'll demonstrate its reality. And now it becomes a fact. And faith, applying your faith to an experience that you just had is easy, no strain at all. So then I put this together. This is my formulation. Faith is a way of keeping the eyes of your soul open This is like remembering, staying attentive to the Holy Spirit's plan and your part in it. While faithlessness closes the door, doesn't mean it's locked permanently, but your faithlessness, remember we just read, it implies enormous strain, whereas faith itself is no strain at all. David?
To you who have acknowledged the call of your Redeemer, the strain of not responding to his call seems to be greater than before. This is not so. Before, the strain was there, but you attributed it to something else, believing that the something else produced it. This was never true, for what the something else produced was sorrow and depression, sickness and pain, darkness and dim imaginings of terror, cold fantasies of fear, and fiery dreams of hell. And it was nothing but the intolerable strain of refusing to give faith to truth and see its evident reality.
Mm-hmm. This is subtle. Some of you, this may not be obvious at first, but it is if you, upon reflecting. What it's saying is many of the sufferings and pains of human experience, the strains, which we often attribute to outside circumstances. The economy's not doing good. My friends aren't calling me. I have body, we attribute to other things is actually a strain. Yes, it is a strain, but it's a strain that could easily be alleviated through the application of our faith. And we attribute this strain to something else. This is what this course does, is it helps you to distinguish, why am I feeling depressed and sorrowful and in pain? Why am I suffering? It's not, and it's, the world will tell you it's because of external conditions, whereas the course would tell you that there is something internal, not a right. Nothing is so intolerable as the strain of refusing to give your faith to truth and see its evident reality, see its reality demonstrated, and then it becomes easy. Once you see it demonstrated, you have the experience. It lifts you up into a higher faith plane. Let me say that one more time. There are planes of faith. Beginning plane, actually the first plane is no lack of faith, and then there's beginning faith, and there's higher. So once you've seen the reality of the Holy Spirit's plan demonstrated, it elevates you to a higher faith plane. And it's up to you whether or not you remain there at that higher faith plane, because it's certainly possible for you to lose track of your faith and swing into faithlessness. But at least once you've attained that plane, you can attain it again. Susie?
Yeah, this is amazing because, I always used to say, well, it was this experience that had me thinking my thoughts. It was because of this experience that I have these, that's what happened to me, right? All of the egos chatter and stories. And So, like the Holy Spirit, through my willingness and through my work, has most definitely removed some of, helped me undo some of my thinking. So I have faith. I know 100% to be true for me that the Holy Spirit is there. She's working in my life. This works. It's all about my willingness. Now I say, okay, this is what's going on with me. I talk to the Holy Spirit like she's my friend, because she is. So this is what's going on with me. And like, I know that with my willingness, I can be healed from this. I know I can. Now, whether or not I'm going to be healed yet, I can accept, because I believe she really meets me where I'm at. And maybe I'm not entirely ready, but I know that when I am, and when things are intolerable, or when I'm really ready, she is there to heal my mind. And I just know it. So it's what we're talking about. It's happened, so I know it to be true. And I'm not ever in nearly as much strain. Even when things, so quote unquote, I need some help with, I'm not in intolerable strain, because I know the Holy Spirit is there. And that is an amazing feeling. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? Really knowing and having just total, it's not, now for me, it's total trust that the Holy Spirit is there. It's trust that she's there. It's faith that she'll help me. I don't know, does that make sense? But yeah, to have the direct experiences, you just kind of want more. Like you used to say, you got to fall in love with the spiritual course.
You do. Not only do you want more, but you become far less willing to tolerate pain and suffering and despair. The discomfort of that state, you become increasingly sensitive to the lack of love in yourself and in others. So I need to, before we go into the next paragraph, kind of set the stage. This is especially for Atisha and Elias. So what we're talking about is self-inflicted pain here that comes about through a lack of faith. And we have a symbol that we use, that the Course in Miracles introduces. And it's a powerful language. So I'm prepping you there. It's the idea that if you suffer because of your own actions, you're crucifying yourself. You're doing it to yourself. And so when we speak about crucifying the Son of God, we're talking about people that are inflicting pain upon themselves through their lack of faith. Okay, so it's a symbol, and it's a radical, like every word in A Course in Miracles, it's a radically new interpretation of a traditional symbol. And we do every word in A Course in Miracles has a radical new interpretation in accordance with the Holy Spirit's understanding of eternal truth. Every word, love, this world, you, God, your brother, all these things have new meanings in the mind of the Holy Spirit. And so that's, with that said, David.
Such was the crucifixion of the Son of God. His faithlessness did this to him. Think carefully before you let yourself use faithlessness against him. for he is risen, and you have accepted the cause of his awakening as yours. You have assumed your part in his redemption, and you are now fully responsible to him. Fail him not now, for it has been given you to realize what your lack of faith in him must mean to you. His salvation is your only purpose. See only this in every situation, and it will be a means for bringing only this.
Mhm. So the idea here is, in any situation in which you encounter another, there's a soul, a son of God in your presence. And whether or not he believes in himself is one thing, but whether or not you have faith in his soul, in his inner divinity, is the real matter that we are called to, is to maintain faith in our brothers, acceptance, even when their words or behaviors may not be consistent with beauty and truth and holiness, to recognize that that person is still a part of the Holy Spirit's plan. And so the words are, and this will be used again and again in this course, that his salvation is the reason why you're here, is to help bring the light to others. See only this salvation in every situation, and it will become a means for bringing only this. Well, this is a high calling. This calls forth your faith at a level, because there is now a role that each of us have to play in a situation. And so let me back it up again. This is the Holy Spirit's plan and purpose. This is not our little individual separate plans and purposes, but the Holy Spirit's mighty plan, and it involves the return of everyone to reunite with all of creation. And so from the Holy Spirit's point of view, the reason why we're here is that we might all reunite with creation. From the Holy Spirit's point of view, every situation is an opportunity calling for the restoration of a holy relationship, in this case, between you and the individual that you're with, to recognize their inner divinity, we'll call it their inner goodness, and to, without judgment, accept them for their true being. And when this is the Holy Spirit's plan and purpose, and when you see this in every situation, the situation then becomes merely a means for accomplishing this transcendent purpose. David, you had your hand up.
Yeah, it's very deep, Jonaca. I really appreciate you were saying this about this. Every situation is an opportunity to reinforce my own holiness. I can either crucify my brother with judgment, but I know from the Course that if I crucify my brother, I'm crucifying myself. So only by seeing the innocence in my brother can I be reminded of the innocence in myself. and my holiness. So it's, you know, for 10 years, I've been trying to say, you know, you, my brother-in-law, by you, you know, I suffer. And I've realized I have to completely change that because I'm only crucifying myself. I have to see the innocence in him. And one thing that's helpful is there's a clarification of terms in the back of the book about true perception knowledge. In the first set, it says, the world you see is an illusion of the world, and our body's eyes are not the way the real world can be seen. So we have to keep turning to the Holy Spirit. But I love the subject of truth. We can discuss it at another time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. So yes, there's a high calling here. We you know, this is, I've seen this again and again, miracles. It begins with, hey, the Holy Spirit's got a lovely plan for us all. Would you like to join? And you say, sounds good, you know, sure, sign me up. And then as you learn more and understand more, you realize, well, gosh, everybody was invited to the plan. I'm not special. We're all invited to this. And in fact, my relationship with everybody is a vital ingredient in that plan. How I consider other people, whether I judge them, as David so articulately said, if I judge them, I'm actually crucifying myself. I'm, you know, the finger that points towards another, three fingers point back. So you join this plan, and then you realize that this plan is a plan of salvation for all souls to help them remember once again who they are, and that's really why we're here. It's it's a transcendent plan, an all-encompassing purpose that reoccurs in every situation you enter into. And so here's the beauty of it. It's so simple. It's one plan that involves everybody. It shows up, or it beckons you at every corner, every opportunity. And it's not like you have to simultaneously work multiple jobs and multiple careers. This is independent of how you make a dollar, how you make money. This is in every situation. This is the key purpose, and that it reaches out and has ripple effects that extend far beyond any understanding that you would ever have. It's part of a long-range plan to save the world, which is what you would expect the Holy Spirit would offer and initiate. That's what you'd expect the plan of truth to be about. All right, we'll wrap up this reading here.
When you accepted truth as the goal for your relationship, you became a giver of peace, as surely as your Father gave peace to you. For the goal of peace cannot be accepted apart from its conditions, and you had faith in it, for no one accepts what he does not believe is real. Your purpose has not changed and will not change, for you accepted what can never change, and nothing that it needs to be forever changeless can you now withhold from it. Your release is certain. Give as you have received, and demonstrate that you have risen far beyond any situation that could hold you back and keep you separate from him whose call you answered.
Mm-hmm. So Well, one way of trying to teach this is to put it in sequence. So you A, B, C, D, put it in order. So here's one way to express that. It starts with the Holy Spirit's plan to bring everyone back into a state of oneness. And then that plan calls you. It's the call of truth. And again, Atisha, it's not that we have the truth. The Holy Spirit has the truth. We may not fully understand that or even comprehend all of its aspects. We certainly do not. But by faith, we respond to it. And by responding to it, as we read tonight, we have experiences that are demonstrations of faith in action. And so faith moves from a hope of some future state to a fact that we've experienced. And that fact is proof enough. And this then is the condition of peace. It brings inner peace within you. That might need some elaborating on. If we invest in the ego, it splits ourselves off from our soul. It creates inner conflict because the ego has a separate plan from that of your inner divine being, your soul. When you invest in truth and faith, then there's no longer a conflict with your soul, and it brings about inner peace. So inner peace flows naturally from these experiences of having applied your faith, which is what we mean by the goal of peace cannot be accepted apart from its conditions, which is faith. And you had faith in it, for no one accepts what he does not believe is real. Furthermore, from our own little perspective, whether or not we will make it seems uncertain from our little perspective. But from the Holy Spirit's perspective, she's seen this again and again and again. This is her purpose for being, is to bring people home. And so from her perspective, your release is certain. You can be confident. Elias, this is where real trust comes from, not out of the depths of our little mind and our fearful self, but out of the confidence in the Holy Spirit's plan that it works. Faith is required, and with it then comes a certainty that cannot be found in the things of this world. And so this is just the beginning. Every chapter, subsequent chapter that we read is built upon this, the idea that the truth is within, it's calling our faith, and as we exercise our faith, it rises to new levels of faith, and then that starts to remove doubt and bring certainty with it. It gives us a new focus of our purpose. So now the fundamental existential questions that the entire world has have satisfactory answers. These are the questions such as, what am I? What am I doing here? What is my purpose? What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of love? These questions have the answers can be found in this experience, demonstrating you've risen far beyond any situation that could ever hold you back and keep you separate. Noelle, you had your hand up?
Yeah, the demonstration of turning to the Holy Spirit, I have found each time I do, of course, the answers come sooner or later and give me confidence to do the same next time. I can't answer the questions that you just raised. They are my existential questions too. But in each situation, whether it's where did I put the so-and-so, or how do I handle this sticky situation with a person, the answers come. And as I obey with the Holy Spirit's truth, as we've talked about, each time builds my faith greater. And as you say, blossoms into trust as well. And so it becomes a little bit easier each time to turn away from the ego and to Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Related to what Noelle just shared, I wanted to share my own experience. I'm not claiming this is universal. I'm just saying this was my experience about it. With A Course in Miracles, there would be questions. You will have more questions than ever here, because as the clouds begin to lift, you begin to see more clearly, and that invites wanting to understand and appreciate how the laws of spirit work. And so in my journey, I've had many questions, and I noticed that for a long period of time that I would ask the question, be very clear about it, maybe spend some time journaling about it. But it wasn't until 2 weeks later that all of a sudden the answer just kind of landed. I don't know, it just kind of landed. I don't, almost, I do not understand the process, but then I had my answer 2 weeks later. And then I noticed that happen about a dozen times. And so I just came to trust that if I was patient, that eventually the answer would arrive. Well, I'm happy to report that it no longer takes 2 weeks. That many things now, okay, before I was patient for 2 weeks, now I have about 2 days of patience, and there's the answer. Or in many cases, it's within the same day. I don't know how these things, I'm not trying to give an explanation. I'm just trying to share an experience. Ask these questions of your soul. Make it clear what it is you're asking to the Holy Spirit. And then just listen, be patient. It doesn't necessarily come back the next minute. But be alert to the answer. And by the way, sometimes someone else will say something that encodes the answer that you were looking for. So don't be closed-minded as to where the source comes from. It can come from all variety of mechanisms. So that was been my experience. Susie?
I love that line in the course that says infinite patience produces immediate results. And, you know, it's just a quick little funny story. I am raising money for my nonprofit right now. And, you know, I sent out this mass email and I got a bunch of responses. And then I just kept seeing 0, 0, 0. And, you know, I said to the Holy Spirit, okay, accept all things as they are. And I guess this is just the way it's supposed to be. And that's fine. And I looked like, I don't know why, but I looked 10 minutes later and there was like all this money in the account. And it was just an exact example of just infinite patience, you know, like just trust. And I don't know, I just love that infinite patience. And it doesn't just mean, I mean, how would you explain that, John? I think it means like complete patience,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
Unbounded patience.
Infinitely, you have just total patience and you get results.
Yeah. It's something like we talked about before, true faith has no strain at all. When you're not straining about the issue, because impatience is a type of strain. Hurry up. When am I gonna get this answer? It's a strain. And when you let go of that, that's the condition of trust and faith that allows these things. Then you are working with the laws of truth. You're not straining. Heather?
Yeah, it says in the Tao that when you come to the place you're doing nothing, then nothing is left undone.
So help me with that. What's that mean?
That means it's infinite patience. When you come to the place you're not trying to make it happen, then it happens naturally.
Care of, yes. That's all taken care of, yes. I think the course would use language consistent with that message of let the truth be what it is. Don't interfere, don't fight it, don't question it. Just allow it to be. Noel?
Also, sometimes when I want a particular outcome and I start repeating statements from the course and affirmations, it's like I'm straining to do that. And Abraham says that when you keep doing affirm, you're really emphasizing the lack and you're keeping the result away, the good result that you want. So that's an aspect of strain as well, rather than as Susie was saying, the infinite patience, let it be, for me, let the truth be as it is means let the Holy Spirit show me the truth. Just relax into the truth that the Holy Spirit sees.
Yes. Beautiful. Yep. That's what it is. So just to reiterate, in terms of the next 2 weeks, chapter 18 will begin in the first week of January. We just finished chapter 17 today. But in the meantime, there will be sessions available for those of you who are able to attend. We will do special topics, of which I wrote down at least 4 tonight, and am open to other topics if you want to send me your thoughts on that, and we'll do special topics on those other times. So it's we'll break from our sequential reading and pick that up again. I think it's January 7th, whatever that Saturday, first Saturday is in January. And that's with chapter 18, the passing of the dream. And so I just want to say what a delight it is to be here with all of you to agree that there's this bigger plan that the Holy Spirit has. The details have not been given to any of us, but the overall outline has, which is everyone's included. Every situation is an opportunity for this plan to be enacted. Our part is you don't have to be the source of truth or pretend you've found the truth, but you do need to have faith that the Holy Spirit is the source of that truth. And that really all you need to do is remain faithful, show up, be present, and tell it like it is, tell your truth, and let her arrange the details for the healing to occur. So thank you all for being a part of this journey. I hope to see some of you between now and the end of the year. But for those of you traveling or otherwise entertaining people and unable to make it, have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year and many blessings. You know that every situation is an opportunity for God to teach us a lesson. Namaste. Thank you, David.
Brilliant. Beautiful.
Namaste. Thank you, David.
Namaste.
Thank you,
Love
Jonaca.
you,
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
We'll see you for sure.
Peace and love. Elias, good to see you again, my friend.
Thank you. I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a good end of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on back again.